And what's your view on the way that industry as a whole um, is progressing or not progressing between this idea of time-based contracting and outcome-based contracting? Do you think that it's something that's becoming more necessary, more popular, or do you think it's one of those kind of cyclical type things?
So I think it depends on how strategic you are. So if you really look at what we're talking about with this the statement of work in the SLA, that's really performance-based contracting. Outcome-based contracting is actually slightly different than that. So a performance-based contract is a managed services or performance agreement or whatever where you get a statement of work and an SLA. Outcome-based contract is actually something that affects the company's bottom line, I guess is a simple way to say it. So, for example, an outcome could be 20% increase in market share. An outcome could be, $1 billion in more revenue. Outcome could be, um, uh, the ability to go virtual and sell a dozen different sites that you're finding are underutilized, right? So outcome tends to actually be the higher level thing that the buying company would recognize as um, as business impact as opposed to performance, which is less strategic than that. So and the reason I separate that is when you talk about like vested deals and outcome-based contracts, they tend to be managed differently because it's almost like a joint venture, as opposed to something that's a traditional outsourcing kind of agreement.
Yeah, I
So
think
here, okay,
I was just going to say the difference between an outcome and an output
yes,
might seem subtle, but it's very significant.
right, right. And an output at an SLA, that's like what normal outsourcing usually is. So where I work today, we have third-party administrators and we have companies that actually drive revenue for us, that like kind of sell our products or sell products for us, or we co-develop or whatever like that. Um, so that kind of thing does happen in a lot of industries, but largely most companies are just buying stuff, right? It's performance-based contract, or they're buying an output of some kind. And again, everybody does it, right? You can't do everything yourself. You can't build your own PCs and support them and do it in a way that's going to really make economic sense for you, unless you happen to be a company that's your that you make PCs, right? And I use Dell as the example, but there's a ton of them. So the point is, everybody buys stuff. A lot of that's technology, like your network or your telephony or your mobile phones or whatever that is, your applications. And so, really, when you look at the evolution and what are you doing, it all gets down to what is your business model? What is it that you deliver? If you're a manufacturing company, it might be different than if you're financial services, or if you're construction, or you're like whatever your company is. That's going to change the model of what you buy and what you do yourself. But it all gets down to what is it that gives you that advantage in the marketplace, your core process knowledge that turns into something that's an outcome for your corporation or your company, right? Versus the things that are, I'll call them non-value but necessary. And the reason I say non-value but necessary is because an end customer isn't willing to pay for it. So, for example, I go buy a car, and if you're going to design and build a car, you need a bunch of software, you need a bunch of engineering, you need a bunch of modeling, you need safety tests, you need there's a bunch of stuff that use technology to design and build, like a program lifecycle management software, ERP software, all these things that you do to design the car, to get the parts, to run your factory, right? I am not going to pay extra for my, Honda Accord because Honda happens to have a better ERP system than Toyota, right? I don't care. It's necessary. If you don't have an ERP system, you can't manufacture stuff because you don't know where the heck your parts are, right? Or even what your parts are. But I don't care as a customer of the car whether your ERP system is, whatever Oracle or SAP or like who cares, right? All I care about is, does the car have all the parts in it that I need, or does it work and is it fun to drive and whatever, right? So that's what I mean by non-value added but necessary, because from a customer perspective, it's not adding value, but it's absolutely necessary to deliver the product or service that I want to buy that does add value. And so the smart companies will take all that non-value added but necessary stuff that they can find a better economic kind of deal, that assures business continuity and service delivery and all those things, quality, cost, service delivery, et cetera, from a kind of a TCO perspective. They'll take that stuff and they'll find a supplier or a supplier ecosystem to deliver it for them, so they can focus on the stuff that their customers actually care about, which is a cool design car that gets certain fuel economy, that's fun to drive, that's whatever, 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 right?